have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
There he is, the guy responsible for why my family won't speak to me.
Check 2, hello. What is up? Extra Canadian, thank you, Sinchal. Thank you. 10,000 Centers, my favorite show is on. Wow. We love it. Favorite show. I do like taunting you, Red Wizard. Yes, I do. That's exactly what I was doing there. Hello, Subversive History, and thank you so much for the 8 months of Tier 1. Subversive History. Again, everyone, if you're not following Subversive History, brand new player in the streaming game. I shouldn't even be plugging them because it's a threat to my own livelihood and my own audience. I shouldn't even be mentioning this, but please make sure you're following Subversive History. Thanks also to James Ed Smith. Thank you, James. 19 months Tier 1. Very much appreciated, James. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for reminding me it was a Cyber Monday because I meant to put Cyber Monday deals in the Marketplace of Ideas in the title, and I had forgotten, so I threw it in there. We got Cyber. If you're shopping in the Marketplace of Ideas, folks, well, we got your Cyber Monday deals right here. We got Cyber Monday deals on all hot ideas in the Marketplace of Ideas. Hot new ideas. Some discounted rib thought. Thank you. And freelance, we're gonna talk. Freelance Communist had some comments about the NYT app and how people are going crazy for these protests in China. We are gonna get to that. You do just have to laugh. They're already calling for the downfall of the regime. We will get to that. Okay, we will get to this. This is one of the I'm part of the Marketplace of Ideas that's coming a little bit later. Okay? Don't worry about that. Did anyone pick up any, like, I know capitalism is evil, and like the Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all that stuff is evil, and I know the whole idea of like purchasing things, we're designed that we've been programmed since birth to just like have this little good feeling that we get when we purchase a new item. We purchase a new item. And it just alleviates the pain of being alive ever so slightly. And it gives you that little good feeling and you have a new thing. And I know how much of a cliche that is. And I know it's actively harmful It's actively destroying our minds, destroying the planet, destroying society. I did get some new items, though. I did. I must admit. I'm going to admit it to you right now. I got a couple new items. I don't know how I feel about it, but listen, I needed some items. I needed some stuff. I needed some products. In fact, I even managed to find a dumb TV. I was excited. I needed a new TV in this space here. And I found a very large, dumb TV, which I didn't even think was possible to get anymore. I get a TV that doesn't have like internet connectivity and all the apps and the Roku and all the software built into it. I didn't even think it was possible to purchase these anymore. I admit I accepted a fantastic deal on packing tape. We have to do it sometimes. Do you want to buy the shit when it's more expensive, or do you want to buy when it's not expensive? You know? All this stuff may be collapsing around us, but we might as well still kind of like take advantage of it while we have a possibility of doing that. We live in a good time for TVs. Well, I mean, I didn't want to have to purchase one of these smart TVs. I really didn't want to have to deal with that. I wanted to get just a dumb TV that I could just throw the Google Chrome on.
To talk you through all this.
Does this new badge come with some perks in the triangle of friendship?
Sikalufakis, thank you for the 1 year of Prime. Congratulations on the 1 year badge. Congratulations to you. And yes, it does. Yes, it does. I mean, that's where you have access to even more clout now, even more of the patented trickle-down clout system. And you're just 1 year away from the highly exclusive 2-year badge seen on such chatters such as Sinchal currently. Thank you, Sam. I thought I'd go with the hat today. Hat stream. I wanted to watch TV and my smart TV wouldn't let me because it was downloading an update. Not very smart. I know. It's like...
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Happy 2 years, Rob. The new badge is that of tepid support. You have not denounced China, Russia, Vuvuzela, the list goes on. When will you become a true progressive that is against authoritarianism?
That's right. Thank you, Kijiji, and congratulations to you. Speaking of the exclusive, highly elite 2-year sub badge, congratulations to Kijiji Genie, the latest member of the 2-year club, the 24-month club. Thank you very much, Kijiji Genie, for all the support. And I know I need to do better. You know, all states are bad. That's just it. So I know I haven't been denouncing enough lately the official enemies of the United States State Department, the rules-based international order. I've come to detest these places purely because of my own values, my own left-wing values, right? That's the reason I don't like these places, not because any of the reasons that they tell me not to like them every day in the news media or any of that stuff. You know, not for those reasons. But for like other important leftist reasons is the reasons that I don't like those places. So I agree that I need to do more to denounce these nations that are being just because they're being targeted by the U.S. State Department and Western imperialism, sanctions, efforts to destabilize, propaganda. Just because they're under threat like that doesn't mean that they're immune from being criticized, right? And they haven't, frankly, none of these countries have been anti-imperialist enough for me, and they're not creating socialism fast enough. And I'm able to weigh in on this because I'm the expert in that, and I've accomplished a lot as a Western leftist. Obviously, I've accomplished way more than any of these fake socialists in any of these other countries ever could. So they should be listening to me, really.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
I do the Coke Zero.
Thank you, LaCroix Boy Marks. Thank you for the 5 months of tier 1. And listen, chin chin to you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let's drink our Coke Zeros. Let's drink our Coke Zeros together, shall we? Here we go. One more time. Chin chin. Everybody knows true progressives support counter-revolutionary neoliberal forces of reaction. All their foreign policy positions that just coincidentally happen to align with the U.S. State Department, we should just ignore that. But listen, Sam, 2 things can be bad, okay? 2 things can be bad. I can be against imperialism and the U.S. State Department and all the victims of imperialism in the U.S. State Department at the same time, okay? It's all bad. It's all bad. It's not a Starlight Coke. No, it's a Cherry Coke Zero sugar. I do like those Starlights though. I enjoy those. I do enjoy those. They're basically both as bad. Thank you. I don't like the taste of caffeine free. Yeah, I was surprised to see. I saw that post by Elon Musk. I was surprised to see in the Discord server some support for the caffeine free Diet Cokes. Let's take a look at this now, shall we? Let's take a look at this now. By the way, you know what I did today? Just before I get started here? You know what I did? For those of you that have been following my burgeoning tepid return to making music and songwriting and stuff. Today I sent my stuff to 604 Records in BC. This was Chad Kroger's record label, who has Carly Rae Jepsen and a bunch of other artists like the Marianas Trench people and stuff like that. And I was just fuck it, I'll just send it to them. So I don't know, maybe that'll do something. I like those songs that I wrote. I think they're pretty good, especially if they had a good, if they had more professional production. I think they would be, as good as anything that I hear on the radio here in Canada. So I'm just trying to see it. I don't know. Maybe nothing will come of it. Probably not. Maybe it'll be one of those shot in the dark things, though. Zero Caf is only good if you got a buzz and a dry mouth and not want to kill it. That's true, but I like the little caffeine boost in those moments. So let's take a look at this, because this is a fucked up picture. This is a fucked up picture. Let me tell you. What do we think about that? Have you seen this yet? Have we all seen this? I saw it kind of just before I was logging on here. Elon Musk is bedside table posting. What the fuck's going on here? You can look at this nasty. You can see all the rings too. Listen, I love soda, as you know. As you know, I'm a big soda guy. Listen, this man's he's the wealthiest man in the world. What are these rings everywhere? It's gross. What the fuck? Do you not wipe that up every now and then? Use a fucking coaster, man. What is this? Who's this slob? But this is what I mean. Caffeine-free Coke. Like G Clubby said, caffeine-free is good if you're a true lover of Diet Coke, in it for the flavor, and love sleep. Well, I appreciate your viewpoint, G Clubby. But I don't know. It's I had a Diet Coke last night at midnight. I had a Diet Coke with caffeine last night at midnight, and I went to sleep immediately. It just doesn't affect me, especially after a certain point. What kind of fucking Dizx mankind divided ass gun is that? Here's what I want to know. What is this blunderbuss ass gun he's got going here? What is this? And he's got this old musket. He's got this old Americana shit. This old timey musket and this weird this weird fucking Blade Runner assassin pistol here as well. Also, what's this? There's so much dark energy in this image. That we can debate all day about the caffeine-free Diet Coke. Personally, I'm not a supporter. The caffeine doesn't affect me. I like having the caffeine. There's not enough in a Diet Coke to really change my sleeping really alter my sleeping habits. I say that. Maybe that's not true. Maybe I'm not actually. aware of the level of addiction that I have to this. But yeah, so we can debate all day about the caffeine-free Diet Coke. This is just disgusting now. Like with like the stains everywhere. You got this filthy water bottle here. This old blunderbuss. Has anyone computer enhanced the books? Let's see if we can do that. What is with this guy? Is it something civility? It's really hard to read. It's really blurry. Is it Pillars of Civility? That's really a guess. I don't know. It's very blurry. The rules of civility? I can't get, like, it's too blurry. These people don't know how to spend their money. Seriously, like, Jesus. Noted civility enjoyer, Elon Musk. That's right. It's apparently Washington's flintlock pistol that's above a Buddhism ritual object. Okay. So the founding father memorabilia, the fetishization of, the origins of America, manifest destiny, etc., which is not understandable coming from a Boer, South African dude. What is the? I don't know what's up with the lamp. I don't know. Really, I'm just really taken aback by the rings, the soda rings. I don't know what is going on with this cyberpunk gun he's got going on here. Did you buy that toy from the Final Fantasy store? Also, good morning. There's something on your head. No, that is known as a toque. That is known as a toque, Carno, but welcome. What a weird fellow, though, isn't he? Very weird fellow. It's a blunderbuss and it's cool. I don't know. It's like I like that kind of science fiction-y look. I feel like if someone that I respected or thought was cool had a gun like this, I would probably like it. Like we saw that weapon that was used to assassinate Shinzo Abe, which was like another blunderbuss-ass gun. And it's like, it's turning out to be like one of the most consequential assassinations ever, one of the most successful ones. Shout out to that guy. But if someone used this gun, for example, to like assassinate a major world leader or start some historical chain of events, I would think that was cool. I think because I don't think Elon's cool, the gun loses cool points in and of itself. You know what I mean? Like, I think in another context, I could look at that gun and be like, oh, that's kind of cool. But just because it's being used in this context, it's like, no.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this. Alana, thank you for the 18 months tier 2. I think your comment got censored because you used the piss word, which I hear text to speech saying all kinds of nasty shit all the time. Thank you, Alana. Only 6 months until I get the coveted piss badge. Again, it's not piss colored though. That's important to point out. That's important to keep in mind. It has nothing to do with piss. It's gold. It's supposed to be gold, triumphant. Oh, he even jokes about it. There's no excuse for my lack of coasters. Yeah, you're a fucking slob. Okay? He's even turning it into a joke. I want the piss badge. Carrier, you're close, Carrier Wave. You're very close. I don't know. There's just no excuse. There's no excuse for this. This is just gross. I was trying to see if I could quickly find the clip of Samuel L. Jackson from Jurassic Park going, "This disgusting workstation," or whatever it is. We all agree the caffeine-free Diet Coke is the worst part. Well, Tracy, I mean, that's what I was thinking. But I saw some controversy about this. We have some caffeine-free Diet Coke supporters in this community, which I was surprised by. But I respect it. I respect it. I think you're a real Diet Coke head. If you're into the caffeine-free, people have said it reminds them of their grandmas and gams, etc., which we can't. They know what's best, right? They know the gams know what's up. So if they enjoy it, I'm not going to judge that, and I'm not going to judge anyone's nostalgia centers that are being tickled by the caffeine-free Diet Coke. It's not for me personally, but people drink Coke for caffeine. Well, I enjoy the taste. I just find it's a refreshing beverage, and I like getting a little caffeine hit. That's part of it as well. Just off screen, the adrenochrome IV. That's right. I enjoy the caffeine, and like I was saying, I had a Diet Coke last night, shortly before bedtime, and it didn't really impact me in any way. It was just a refreshing beverage. I drink caffeine-free soda, but not Diet Coke. I can't do caffeine because I take a stimulant, and it messes with that. Okay, that's fair. I drink caffeine-free sodas as well. In Canada, I think this is true, but I don't know for sure that it's true. But I believe only brown sodas in Canada can have caffeine, and non-brown. So, like Mountain Dew, for example, there's a lot of caffeine in American Mountain Dew. In Canada, there's no caffeine in Mountain Dew. Because then I think it has to qualify. It's like because of the weird socialist nanny state. Then it has to be described as like an energy drink. So there's a specific Mountain Dew energy drink, but Mountain Dew itself does not have caffeine. I simply have a ginger ale. Yeah, and as you know, I enjoy often a diet ginger ale as well, or a Fresca. We talked about Fresca last week. Big Fresca fan. I know many other Fresca heads in the chat as well. Remember Dr. Pepper 10? That shit was good, but it had a very unnecessary misogynist ad campaign. I mean, I just like Diet Dr. Pepper, but yeah, it's like, you don't need to be a girl and drink diet soda. You drink like manly, sophisticated Dr. Pepper 10. You can drink diet soda, it's fine. It's fine to drink diet soda, okay? It's totally fine to do. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't make you less masculine to enjoy a nice diet soda. What are the chances this tweet is a direct result of Coca-Cola cutting back Twitter ad spend? You gotta wonder. It's like me. He's just like me for real. He loses out on the sponsorship and he just keeps promoting the product just purely out of brand loyalty. Drinking Diet Coke as a man is Sigma. Thank you, G Clippy. And as we all know, I'm very familiar with these trends. These lifestyle trends. I don't know.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
I'll keep drinking that garbage.
Absolutely, Metal Dipshit. Thank you so much for the 19 months tier 3. Thank you, Metal Dipshit, for the resub and for all the support. I really, really appreciate it. Oh, what do we think about the new little thing in the corner? The little slogan on the screen. What do we think about that? I was trying out a new one today. The "you're being lied to" thing. What do we think about that? Does Elon? I don't even want to know what the answer to this question is, Mondo Michel. I don't even want to read it on the chat. That's how disturbed I am by that insinuation. You know what I mean about the blunderbuss, though? I think in other contexts I could find that cool. In this context, it's lame. Like when it's next to a bunch of gross discarded cans and all the rings on the table. It's not cool at all to have a blunderbuss. Like, you don't look like a futuristic bounty hunter, sir. You don't. You just look like a weird nerd. Neither of those guns are blunderbusses. Okay, so what would qualify something as being a blunderbuss? Does it have those, like, the extended barrel with, like, the like the steampunk style entrance? Do you know what I'm talking about? Cone shaped? Does it have to be cone shaped? A blunderbuss is a specific gun that was made for firing loose shot. Okay, but I'm not talking about the historic. I'm talking about like the steampunk reference, also referenced in the Bruce Willis film Looper, the Rian Johnson film. You think you need a cone for a blunderbuss? That's fair. That's fair. I think maybe I'm just using it to generically describe like a futuristic looking weapon. Blunderbussy. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Did he fire his maids too? Maybe that's why his house is a mess. I mean, you're the world's richest man. Not only can you afford to have someone like pick up after you, but you can actually pay them well. You can pay someone a great wage to not have your gross fucking cans lying around everywhere. Give me a break. Elon got that blunderbussy in the bedroom. This is where this conversation is going now. This is where this is going. So I don't know. This to me is an extremely chaotic image. What is that? George Washington on the Potomac? Is that what that is? My familiarity with like American settler myths and the myths of the founding fathers is kind of shady at best. I know the basic idea, but I don't know the legends. The Delaware. Okay. Crossing the Delaware. Okay, now we got some discrepancy on this. I walked home in tons of snow carrying a 12-pack of Cherry Coke Zero yesterday, and I drank it for the first time later that day, and it was so good. Waldos, did you get it because of my explicit reference on this program? Potomac. Okay, it's not Potomac. The Potomac. Potomac. I don't know. I've never been. What is that, in DC? Fuck. My extreme lack of knowledge of I talk shit about America all day, and my extreme lack of knowledge about any of this stuff is being exposed. I am being exposed as an ignorant Canadian hater. Yet again. Just a silly Canuck. At least I'm really not making any effort to hide my Canadianness. I mean, fucking look at me here. Look at me. Making a nice pot of mac, chopped. I literally had that for dinner last night. The old craft dinner. Because usually I've talked about when I get like boxed mac and cheese, I like to go for that President's Choice white cheddar. It had been a while since I had like the orange KD with ketchup. And I had that last night. And man, it was tremendous. I really enjoyed it. You rock maple leafs on your backpack. I mean, I did years ago when I backpacked around Europe like 20 years ago. And I did have a big ass Canadian flag on my backpack at that time. Hello, hey Lodane, how's it going? Welcome, Lodane. Hello, my neighbor's dog kept me up all night. Pretty sure he sleeps days, bumping shitty rap in the kitchen all day while doing housework as revenge. Can't stick around. Hope the stream goes well. Also, bit badges, you son of a bitch. Oh, Lodane, this week, I 100% guarantee 100% I will have bit badges uploaded. By the end of this week, they will be there. I swear it on my toque. That's right. That is right. Can I pretend to be Canadian if I travel overseas in the future? I mean, you can, Lee. Although I feel like it's gonna have diminishing returns at this point. You know what I mean? I feel like pretending. Everyone is aware of Canada's bullshit now.
Talk you through all this.
Goth Engel Sinner, thanks for the 23 months of Prime. 23 months, one tantalizing month away. Goth Engel Sinner, one tantalizing month away from the highly exclusive, highly sought after 24-month sub badge. Thanks again for the 23 months. Israelis going to start putting maple leafs on their stuff. Well, this is what I mean. It's like, I think people are aware of Canada's bullshit now. It's like, oh, we're the nice guys of upholding global imperialism,
eh? You
eh?
have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
TRRS US Tour, where Rob not only meets the community, but he meets America. In a romantic film, this scenario would have you fall in love with the US. What a country.
Thank you, Dimitri, for the 6 months tier 1 and for all the support. Very much appreciated. That would actually be a good movie, I think. If I did like a road trip style, like not a coming of age, but like
you're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
A road trip film.
Our beautiful baby with a face only a mother could love. Sean M7LOVE.
A journey of self-discovery as I travel across the United States of America, meeting the random weirdos that watch my live stream. Stopping at all the weird roadside stands at the world's tallest elastic band ball or whatever, and all that weird shit. I don't know. That's what I think of America. That's what I think about. You just all that weird, you just drive by the world's largest fucking statue of Steve Buscemi, and there's like this little park run by this like weird guys like fiefdom, where he's like the king. Before I leave, they'll be like Borat, only Rob's Borat, not the chubby producer weirdo guy.
Through all this.
TRRS Sankara.
Thank you, Bon C3PO, for the 15 months tier 1. And thanks also to Fart Party 69. Valued community member Fart Party 69 for the 9 months. They recently tore down the world's tallest filing cabinet to make room for a highway in Burlington, Vermont. Oh no. God damn it. This is what's happening in fucking Biden's America. There's the world's largest basket building in Ohio, so pretty accurate. Yeah, the biggest ball of twine in Minnesota. Wouldn't that be... I think that would be good, though. I bet I could turn that into something very interesting and fun and entertaining. Okay, if I ever get the opportunity to, I will make this happen. My documents were in there. Eric, it needed to have the world's largest filing cabinet to store all the documents. That's evidence of how silly you are. Because there's so much of it that it needs this gigantic cabinet. The world's largest cabinet, in fact. Giant paper. A streamer launched into space by world's longest rubber band. Yeah, that would be fun. Like a road trip, journey of self-discovery. It's a discovery of American culture. It's a celebration of American culture. A journey into the dark heart of America. And along the way, meeting all kinds of wacky characters, which is you. That's you. I thought that's where they kept Hillary's emails. Oh my goodness. See, DC with no caffeine is goated. Wow. See, we got a lot of difference of opinion on this diet caffeine-free Coke. It's not for me, but I respect everyone's opinion on this. You know, we are one sub or one dono away from a hype train, folks. I don't want to alarm anybody, but there is a possible hype train on the horizon. It's like that old-timey film when the train comes and I go, ah! It's like scary because you think that it's real. You know, we could just get the whole sub goal out of the way today, right? Wouldn't that be kind of interesting if we just got the whole sub goal out of the way?
Good old Rob to
just got it out of the way early, and then I don't even have to think about it or talk about it. Right? That would kind of make sense.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Kijiji, thank you very much for these 69 gifted tier 1 subs. Very nice. Very nice number of gifted subs from Kijiji. Thank you to Kijiji Genie, and thanks Metal Dipshit as well.
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
Thank you, Metal Dipshit, for the gifted sub to Big Shiny Takes Eric. I'm glad Eric got a sub after I just mercilessly roasted him like that.
To talk mercilessly. You through all this.
Aspartame is good for you, Jay. I agree.
Count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
You know what's not good for you? Sugar. And any idea that aspartame is bad for you is all just part of the big sugar propaganda that we've all been spoon-fed our whole lives, folks. The sugar industry doesn't want you. They take away your medicine. They want to take away your medicine, folks. Dimitri, thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. Really, really kind of you, Dimitri. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you to LaCroix Boymarks for the gifted sub also. And thanks to GMO for the gifted sub. Now we're talking. I think sugar's good for you, but aspartame is even better. That's a bold take. Man, I know you probably can't hear it. Or maybe you can just a little bit. The noise gate is catching it. It's been a couple weeks that they've been renovating the unit directly under me, right? Which has led to a lot of hammering and noise and stuff like that, which is annoying, but it's like mostly fine. Right now, it honestly feels like they're just running like a wood chipper. It feels like there's a wood chipper directly outside my door, and they're just feeding planks into it nonstop. Like that's what it sounds like. Sugar demonized the fat for making Americans fat when the pounds of sugar people consume is killing you. I mean, that is genuinely true, though, right? Like, I saw the other day there was like a nostalgia post about these kind of cookies, these like kinds of cookies that were popular in the 90s because they were non-fat. And that whole like non-fat diet trend where they had all these non-fat products that were just pumped full of sugar to make you taste it. And people were just like, I can eat as many of these cookies as I want. There's no fat. It's like there was that Seinfeld episode about that. Fat is good. It's good for you. In moderation, along with everything else. There was that whole Seinfeld episode where they have the non-fat yogurt and they're like, oh, they found out there's fat in it. No, it's not that there's fat in it. So you can't just eat sugary frozen yogurt all the time and expect to lose weight. That's not how it works. That's not how it works, Jerry. That was all just bullshit. Rob's been compromised by Big Keto. The thing is, I know people that have been really into that stuff. I could never go all the way with that. I could never go all the way with the keto, completely cutting out sugar and carbs and that kind of stuff. To me, it's just not sustainable. I think it does actually, you can actually lose weight living like that, but you can't live like that forever. It's just, you just can't only eat that forever, you know, and never have a fucking piece of bread. But at what cost? That's right. At what cost? Cooking with sugar is okay. You should just avoid packaged stuff except one daily candy treat from the corner store. I mean, I think that's pretty fair. I would rather die than give up carbs as well. Yeah. I think that's a good rule of thumb, G Cluppy. One little treat. And that's if you cut sugar out of your coffee, then you can have a little treat elsewhere. I can't wait for my little Butterfinger. That's a good candy bar. It's a good candy bar. I only eat refined sugar because I'm a classy gent. Oh yeah, Sean. So we got another 1 minute, folks. We got another minute to get through this hype train. We could conceivably get to level 4. We're 65% of the way there to level 4. We could theoretically get there. In theory, I'm just saying. My dad is almost 80 and is insanely good health and eats tons of sugar, but he exercises every single day and has for his entire life. It's all balance. That's part of it too, is that everyone has a different kind of... Everyone's body is kind of different too, right? People respond to things. Some people could have the exact same diet and exact same balance of food and exercise, and one person could gain weight and one person could lose weight. Isn't that kind of part of it as well? And you kind of have to just figure out what works for you. And the idea that there's this like shortcut or this like manual to the body that just like everyone has to follow the same rules. Like, I know people that are just thin as rails that just eat fast food and eat junk all the time and they just don't gain weight. You know? I don't exercise at all and eat mostly candy and kratom. That does not sound healthy, I'm going to say, Matt. As a non-health expert over here, I'm going to go ahead and say that does not sound healthy. But you look all right, though, from what I've seen. So, go figure. Go figure. Feeling strong. I do need to exercise more. I definitely do. I do need to exercise more. I've been meaning to get back on the exercise train, start hooping again for a while now, and I just haven't gotten around to it. That's on me. Hello, Doc. Welcome. Hello. Best response to this was AI, render a divorced man's bedside table. That's true. That is true. It's just a dark image. It's just got a dark energy, this image, you know? Whether you like Diet Coke, caffeine-free or not. This has been causing a split in the chat now all day, the caffeine-free Diet Coke. Whether you enjoy it or not. Still, there's no excuse. You shouldn't be having a bunch of gross cans next to your bedside table and all the rings, the lack of coaster. I mean, that's just fucking gross. Get your shit together, sir. Ground level news, hooping, playing basketball. I used to be a big basketball guy back in the day. Shooting a hole in my wall with my blunderbuss, trying to kill my sleep paralysis demon. Apparently that's not what it's called, though. I don't want anyone to get in trouble. A gamer living at home trying to be cool works as a dog walker on the weekends looking bedside table. It do be like that. I just don't understand why anyone would take a picture without cleaning up the trash first. That's true, James. Like, what's going on in your head where you think that that's acceptable? And I don't want to say that I've lived in like pure cleanliness my whole life. Certainly not. I've lived in some shitty apartments, you know? My whole 20s are a fucking blur, living in a bunch of fucked up, too many roommates, too many pets, never cleaned often enough, hot couch ass apartments, okay? I've lived in plenty of shitty places, don't get me wrong. He thinks it's very man cave, probably. That's true. Well, that's the thing. It's like eventually you have to grow up, right? Eventually you have to grow up. And when you're the world's richest man, there's no excuse. There's no longer any excuse. I wasn't a billionaire on the hot couch. No, I was not. Yeah, Doc, the hot couch thing, I believe, was started by Felix from Chapo Trap House, which just really perfectly describes a kind of apartment that some people would be familiar with, which he called a hot couch apartment, where there's always like a certain DVD menu playing on the, like, whether it's like The Matrix Reloaded or Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, or what have you. The constant DVD menu playing on repeat. The hot couch. It was a very it's one of the things I've appreciated is his contributions. A very evocative image. A hot leather couch with a running scared DVD menu is playing on repeat. Perhaps Judgment Night. That's a fucking great movie, by the way. Judgment Night. Love that flick. Fucking great movie. I'll never understand why people choose to sit on leather on purpose. I mean, I've got some leather stuff here. I've got a leather love seat and a leather chair, and I think it's quite nice. It's quite nice. I like it. Yeah, when Jeremy Piven tries to negotiate out of being killed and they just toss his ass off the roof. That's an awesome moment. When he's just like, he's like a loser. You know, he's like this kind of like coward, pathetic city guy. Con man almost, but he just takes this one moment. He's like, I'm gonna fucking talk these guys out of this and be a legend. And he has this moment of like, I'm gonna save the day. You put my talking skills. I'm tired of running around and being chased by these psychos. I'm gonna talk these guys out of chasing us and wanting to kill us. And for a moment, he thinks he's gonna do it. For a moment, he's like, holy shit, I'm actually doing this. And then Dennis Leary gets him. Awesome movie. Yeah, the hot couch thing is a perfect picture of my early 20s, literally on a hot pleather couch with a pirated copy of Big Lebowski's DVD menu running while I was passed out drunk. It's why it's an evocative image, because I think if you've experienced that kind of lifestyle, the hot couch lifestyle, immediately that just conjures up. It just like reaches into the part of your brain, the nostalgia centers, and it all comes flooding back to you. You know? If you've lived the hot couch lifestyle, that is. Anyway, I have leather furniture here and it's normal temperature, and it's like I make sure that it's nice and tidy. So waking up hungover, chugging tap water, for sure. I remember at my shitty apartment, that my shitty hovel that I lived in the 2000s on, what's up, Husker? On Saint Laurent and Des Pins in Montreal. It was on Saint Dominique, actually. And I remember our whole, like, the ceiling collapsed in the bedroom. Like a big thing of the ceiling, like a big fucking chunk out of the ceiling collapsed. There was all this dust and debris on our bathroom floor. And I think because we wanted to show the landlord, it stayed like that for, I don't know how long. I don't want to say weeks, but it was like more than a few days that there was just like rubble all over our bathroom floor, and people just continued to use the bathroom as normal. Like it was not good. I hope it was just a couple of days. I don't know exactly though. I don't totally know. It may have been longer. I was drinking pretty heavily at that time and doing some other stuff that was not good. So, but I absolutely did live the hot couch lifestyle for many years. Many years. It's kind of exciting. We passed 8,000 followers on the channel. That's kind of fun. Last week, last week, 8,002 followers. Very exciting. I had a ceiling cave in at my hottest hot couch apartment. Absolutely. Now you're a homeowner. That's great to hear, Doc. Great to hear. The only thing in the hot couch apartment fridge is a box of baking soda, 37 beers. Yeah. Maybe some like condiments that are, you have just like 3 different mustards with like maybe 1 squirt of mustard between the 3 of them, you know? Some empty condiment containers. Maybe like, if you're lucky, maybe like a pickle jar with like 3 pickles left floating around in there. Fast food packets only. Okay, yeah. Smattering of condiment packets. Yeah, okay, that maybe is even better. Mitered in hot couch studies. I lived that. Listen, I lived that lifestyle, folks, for years. My house in underground is barely standing. It started raining one day and water started running down the walls. When we called the owners, they sent a guy with a tarp for the roof. I'm just gonna tweet that I'm live, I guess, while we're doing this. I'm gonna look inquisitively at the picture. Shit. Fuck. Press the wrong button. Okay, one more time. I'll try one more time. Okay. Fridge full of sauces, no food. We all know what this is like. I have a hole in my bathroom ceiling because I pulled out a leaking vent fan tube and patched the roof, but not the ceiling yet. Just exposed insulation and electrical box. I'm sure that sounds pretty safe, though. I'm sure that's fine. I'm sure that's all right. I'm not a licensed electrician, but I'm familiar with electrician type stuff, and that seems okay to me. All right, tweeted that I'm live. Going back to that professional streamer lifestyle. I just noticed that Time posted. I wonder if it was 4 a.m. for Elon too. That's true. 4:48 a.m. This is usually when Elon's up to hanging out with like Ian Miles Chong on Twitter. He's like an Elon Miles. He's like a fucking Ian Miles Chong reply guy to all the worst right-wing weirdos on this website. This is usually what he's up to when he's up taking his picture of bedside table. He's like fielding all their requests. He's like a personal customer service rep for all the fucking biggest losers on the entire platform. I think that's one very frustrating thing. No, that's right, Badrino. He could be doing cocaine on a private island, and he chooses to spend his time on Twitter, living in this fucking shithole, obviously. That's very frustrating right now. Like, all these people, like Ian Miles Chong, like Sargon of Assad, like fucking Miles Yiannopoulos, like Nick Fuentes, all these fucking piece of shit, like alt-right people that were discredited years ago. They've been banished to their little like far-right echo chambers now for years. Just the most marginal people, like, who have the worst opinions, the worst ideas, and they keep coming back. They fucking keep coming back, and now they're the ones that are like, they have the ear of the world's richest man. And fucking, you have like Milo and Nick Fuentes hanging out with one of the biggest music stars in the world, and like managing his Twitter account and having dinner with the former president and stuff. Like, just the worst people. Just the absolute worst people. And they're like, no matter how bad their ideas are, no matter how many times they got mocked or dunked on or discredited, they just don't go away. And in fact, just get bigger platforms. And now they've got the world's richest man and the owner of Twitter just immediately responding to their every little whim, every little unban request, and every little fucking idea they might have. It's so frustrating. We are truly in the era of gigantic losers. And probably these people are going to rule us now. You know, these fucking people. Hey Rob, hope you're doing well. If I had as much money as Elon Musk, I would simply not be a big lame nerd. I agree, Dapper Cat. I 100% agree with that. Ugh, it's frustrating. It was amusing seeing Tim Pool's. This was very funny, actually. By the way, while people like Lauren are being banned, he's like, amnesty is coming back for all these fucking weird Gamergate, transphobe, fucking loser pieces of shit, right-wing, anti-Semites, fucking just the absolute worst people. Oh yeah, bring all these people back. And then like Lauren, who's one of the best accounts on the entire platform of Twitter. No, we can't have her on there. Get her off of there. Get Lauren off of there, and let's make sure Ian Miles Chong is having every fucking request or complaint immediately responded to by the owner of the company and the world's richest man. It's so fucking annoying. I did really laugh at this though. Like Tim Pool being like every Tesla driver. Where they unleash the Tesla full self-driving beta, which immediately causes a massive accident on the San Francisco Bay Bridge, by the way. And then you have Tim Pool. And this is how all Tesla owners act when it comes to... And by the way, I look way cooler than Tim Pool. My EP and my music career is better than Tim Pool, and I look better in a toque than Tim Pool does. Let's just be clear on that. Let's just get that out of the way right away, okay? Ian Miles Chong, more like Ian Miles wrong. Badrino, that's outrageous that you just said that. That's fucking outrageous, sir. Anyway, so Tim Pool just being like every Tesla owner. The car is, I love it. So I love the car, but I have a concern. The car slams the brakes on inappropriately. Twice a car was entering an on-ramp and yielding. Brakes slammed hard and could have caused an accident. A car was turning left the other day, stopped, and my car just slammed the brakes on the highway. Why do you love it then, Tim? That's my question. Because usually when I drive a car, I think it's not a good thing when it slams on the brakes when you're driving on the highway. That's actually quite dangerous. And that's actually the sign that your car is not good and not something that you should support and not something that you should love. I love my haunted car intent on murdering me. And Tim's just like, I love it, but yeah, the part that when I'm almost constantly almost dying, that's kind of a problem for me. I will radically change my opinion on Tesla if one takes out Pim Tool. And listen, that's what I was saying. Like, if Tim cares about this technology getting better or not, keep driving in your car on the highway. Okay? Quit complaining. Quit this soy complaining, Tim, and drive your Tesla on the highway. In the auto drive, it's the auto drive betas, full betas released, and you're selfishly not helping this technology get better. You know? Sort of concerns with the death trap you sell. I'm afraid I just love it too much. It's so pathetic, isn't it? Like, again, I've talked about how I like products. I enjoy the odd product every now and then. Who doesn't? But if there was like a product that I enjoyed that was like actively trying to kill me on a regular basis, like he's literally pointing out multiple occasions where this has happened, I would not be like, hey, sir that created this product, I love you and I love the product, but it's really bizarre. It's serf mindset, right? This is how serfs act. This is how serfs act. And like this guy. So Stephen King as well. Even with everything that's happened over the last few weeks, if Stephen King's still saying he's a visionary, he's great at the car stuff. I love my Tesla car. Even with all this shit, you wear it better than Tim. Thank you, Lana. I appreciate that. And then I go to correctly point out to Stephen King that this man is actually not a visionary and he's actually stupid. And then you have King Elon the First jumping into the replies. And it's just like, what has to go wrong in your mind What has to go wrong in your life to log into your Twitter account, which you voluntarily named King Elon the First, and you go and look at the people being mean? Excuse me. You go look at the people being mean to Daddy Elon on Twitter, and make sure that he sees you like jumping in front of taking a bullet for him, like that meme there. Quicker to list off what went right. Like, seriously, it's just, come on. This fucking grifter, this monorail bitch. I'm glad that's one of my lasting rants that I've been on. I should really sound clip that. If it's still it was like a year and a half ago, and I'm still hearing about the time I said that. Is he going to blame Twitter's death on Apple? Well, that remains to be seen, right? I'm not sure. Do people think that's an actual possibility that Google or Apple would take the app off the App Store? I don't really understand why they would make that decision. It would be a funny outcome, certainly. I only respect one man who leaves 4 to 5 empty Diet Cokes on the nightstand, and his dad didn't even own an emerald mine. Thank you, Marty. Rob, people have fucked up brains. I don't know what to say. It's like everyone has gotten a frontal lobotomy. No wonder feudalism survived as long as it did. It does feel too, Lana, like things have gotten worse over the last couple years, right? Am I crazy? I know you're in there dealing with the absolute freak. You're talking about the freak museum. You're cataloging and interacting with these fucking weirdos often. Your mentions are a certain hive of all kinds of fucking weird freak activity. I do think people have gotten dumber. I probably have. I've certainly gotten crazier. That's for sure. Serfs just want to live their lives and not have the lords fuck with them too much. They get way more respect from me than Musk stands. That's true, Heroic Skeleton. That's true. I guess it would be like an enthusiastic serf, though, right? It's like not just like, I fucking hate you're like doing the land, and you're like, I fucking hate the Lord. He's such an asshole. And you're just doing what you have to do. But one of the serfs, it's like, oh, sir, hello. I've been doing all the back-breaking labor you asked for today, sir. Can I give you a little massage now, please? Can I do even more? You're in this position. I'm a serf and you're the Lord because you are better than me, and I love it, and I agree with that, and I appreciate you, and in fact I love you. Like, that's what the serf mindset is today, you know? The ball cupping and sucking genre of serf. I've been saying this, the material existential stress will do that to people. Great conditions for global conflict. Seriously, Sean. I mean, that's the thing. It's certainly affected me. I imagine it's affected other people. Fortunately, I've managed to still not become a reactionary asshole, even with all the ways that my brain has deteriorated over the last couple of years. I've still managed to have the correct ideas and positive values. And as do people in this chat, even though I know I've significantly mentally deteriorated in that time. I'm both smarter and more insane. Oh man, that's so accurate. That's exactly how I feel about myself at the moment. Do a voice? I probably should have done a surf voice, right? I should have done a surf voice. I feel very smart. My post-2020 screen name can attest to that. Absolutely. Tampon taste tester. Absolutely right. Your evil twin reactionary Rob is out there making millions right now. Yeah, well. Good old alpha, like real Rob in this universe is out here raking in hundreds. So, and at least I still have some measure of dignity. Not a whole lot, but still a little bit left. I think spending the time reading and learning has driven me more nuts. I mean, part of it, Lana, like part of it for me, isn't it? Is like when you start reading more, like as much as in the past I tried to get into like being a leftist and tried to avoid reading theory and stuff. And then once you do start dipping a toe into that and reading a bit of theory, and especially like looking into like the science of historical and dialectical materialism, and learning from history through that lens and realizing that all this shit has happened before and all these arguments have happened before and everything has already been, there's been people cataloging these very problems, right, for like centuries now, and literally writing down, here are the problems, here's why the problems are happening, here are the solutions to the problems, you just have to do this. Oh, but what about this? But what about authoritarian? No, we had that conversation already, and that's shut down here. We already know the answer to that. We already had these arguments. Decades ago, and you don't have to now. But what about this? No, we actually talked about that as well. And it's all there. And you start reading this and then realizing how we're still just repeating all the same bullshit. When all the answers are there for anyone to enjoy. All the answers are there. And in fact, the people that have the most answers are the ones that are most marginalized by our discourse and by our culture. Like our discourse literally provides more space for fucking Nazis, even though I thought we were all under the basic understanding from liberals all the way across the ideological spectrum. We understood that Nazis were the worst and were bad and not good. There's more space for them in our politics, in our culture, in our discourse than there is for like anti-imperialists. It's very frustrating, isn't it? And it makes you feel insane. It makes you feel gaslit. So that's part of it. Once you start reading that theory and understanding history through that materialist lens, and understanding that all these when you get into like left-wing shit and all these debates that happen in these spaces, how they already happened years ago. Yeah, that's making me feel insane. I thought we all knew fascists were bad. At least the left knew that. But nope. No, but it's bad. But but Russia is even worse, though. So, unfortunately, even though I personally, I'm doing one of our pro-NATO leftist friends. Even though I personally am against fascism, Russia bad though. So we have to arm these fascist militias in Ukraine though. So then there's no other option. There's only a few of them. Yeah, I know Nazis are bad. I know I spent 2017 talking about like punching Nazis and all that stuff. If you see one Nazi, you just punch them. Remember, that was the thing, right? I thought we were all on the same page on that. I thought we all kind of understood that. But now it's like, well, yeah, punch Nazis, but also make sure they have an unlimited arms flow from our government to their going directly into their hands. We also have to ensure that as well. And it's like, you're like, whoa, what? Whoa, what are you saying? You know, it's kind of confusing how people have done kind of an about face on that. That's frustrating. Definitely make sure that American Nazis have the full right to go to Ukraine and get combat experience. That's right. Listen, we gotta support NATO this one time, okay? There's only a few Nazis. Punch every Nazi you see, but in this case, there's only a few. There's only a few of them. Never mind that every single picture that we get coming back from these places, from the liberation of Kherson or whatever, from every single image that we get from these like brave Ukrainian defenders of democracy and freedom, who are not at all U.S. proxies, by the way, and it's pro-Russian propaganda to say that. Every single fucking picture that comes back of these folks, they all have SS symbols. They all have these visible symbols of white supremacy, Rhodesia, the SS, the fucking swastikas, whatever it is. Never mind that. There's only a few of them. But also they're absolutely essential to defeat the swarthy Russian hordes, though. So these are the contradictions we're dealing with here, and it does make you feel insane, doesn't it? Like, just look at my tweet from a few weeks ago where I talked about the historical consequences of arming these types of people completely uncritically when the Crimean Bridge explosion happened and people were celebrating like Russian civilians getting vaporized. As historically, this has not turned out well, and we can just continually arming these people. What did you say? Whoa! You know? It's very strange to me. What I learned is that even most of the left here are full of happy imperialists. The things they think are bad at home are okay abroad because it suits their interests. I've lost respect for a lot of people. Absolutely the same to me. Absolutely. Well, I mean, we should take a look at, and I want to talk about zero COVID and China and all this stuff. We should take a look at this, though, right? While we're talking about this. This tweet from Amanda, aka Cat Content Only, friend of the stream, sometimes pops into the chat. This tanky source, or an EU official in Kremlin propaganda outlet known as Politico, Kremlin-sponsored conspiracy theory anti-imperialist rag Politico, says the U.S. is making a ton of money off the Ukraine war through inflation and weapon sales. What? Can they say that? Why are they putting this pro-Putin propaganda in Politico? EU officials attack Joe Biden over sky-high gas prices, weapon sales, and trade as Vladimir Putin's war threatens to destroy Western unity. Do you mean to tell me that part of the motivation for fanning the flames of this conflict on the part of the United States not only was to contain Russia, but was to create yet another excuse for endless fucking money printing machine going directly into the pockets of these defense contractors, and a way to get Western Europe off of cheap Russian gas and onto more expensive fracked gas from the United States? What? Are you serious? If only someone had been saying, why has no one been saying this? Why has no one pointed this out? This outrageous idea that perhaps there were specific geopolitical reasons that the United States gleefully fanned the flames of this conflict and gleefully intentionally provoked this conflict. Very specific geopolitical and financial reasons for them to do so. If only someone had been mentioning this. Unfortunately, that's Putin propaganda to say that. Top European officials are furious with Joe Biden's administration and now accuse the Americans of making a fortune from the war while EU countries suffer. The fact is, if you look at it soberly, the country that is most profiting from this war is the US, because they're selling more gas and at higher prices and because they're selling more weapons. You don't say. You don't say. I mean, this is going to be the result when people in Western Europe realize the extent to which they're getting completely fucked. Especially when this winter really comes in to full effect. It's going to be a long winter in Western Europe. And again, it doesn't mean that you support when you talk about the invasion of Ukraine being provoked by the United States and Canada, which is just a fact. That is just a fact that it was provoked by the United States and Canada, fanning the flames of this conflict, interfering in the government with the Maidan protests, the CIA and these nefarious intelligence communities, the U.S. State Department, the Canadian security state, arming and funding these militias for the last 10 years. That's a fact. We fanned the flames of this conflict for this specific reason. It doesn't mean that it's okay. It doesn't mean that you agree that Russia invades the country or that you agree with whatever terrible thing that the Russian army has done in this invasion. It doesn't mean that you like that or that you agree with that. I know the adults and the people that have functioning brains still in this chat understand this, but for many people, this is very tricky. It's very tricky to understand this point. You can point to the ways that it was quite deliberately provoked and the very specific geopolitical or financial reasons for why it was provoked. It doesn't mean that you think it's good. It doesn't mean you support the invasion. It just means you recognize the absolute obvious fact that we very intentionally contributed to this conflict and provoked it for these very specific reasons. I am certain to be one of the adults that Bob mentions. That's right, you are, Green Key. Did you see the thread about Poland's incoming economic collapse? That they're committed to spending 5% of GDP on military? Seriously, we haven't even begun to see the ramifications of all this. Not a fan of the hedging, to be honest. You have to at least be able to articulate what Russia should have done instead. Russia tried diplomacy for 30 years. I mean, I don't know, Carrier Wave. I don't know. I do know that terrible things have happened as a result of this war. And like I have always been very skeptical about the numbers and the casualty numbers and like how the war is going by these like Western-backed, infosec weirdos. I've always been very skeptical of that. But it is looking like it has been way more difficult for Russia than I think even they were anticipating. And with no end in sight, they've lost a lot of men, a lot of people, a lot of hardware fighting for these eastern regions, right? And it's like, I don't even know, I don't know if that's really deniable. Is it worth it? And has Russia strengthened NATO at the same time? That's another question, right? Russia, in many ways, this invasion shored up support for NATO and made NATO more powerful. Like he gave these Western imperialists everything they could possibly want. Russia didn't lose much. Well, that's the thing, because there seems to be big differences of opinion across, depending on who you ask about this. Russia not losing a lot. I don't believe the numbers that I hear from like the Ukrainian military or the West, obviously, but like I don't think it's been this rosy cakewalk either. It's very much a lose-lose scenario for everyone except the rich. Son Coyote, we're on top of this already. We already started talking about this. We did a whole segment on the table analysis. Russia also protected the lives of those people in those territories that Russia have ignored till now. I mean, Dmitry, one thing that really stuck out for me, the day, like right before this conflict kicked off, when Russia just announced that they were going to support these breakaway republics and recognize them. And this is one reason why I think it's valuable to have RT as well, no matter what you think about what RT does. I thought it was really valuable to get that perspective when they actually went into these republics and were talking to like average folks, average citizens, civilians that have been living in these places for the last 10 years that are like, what took you so long? What took you so long? Why are you just doing this now? Like, there's people in these regions that have been waiting for this moment. And yeah, they deserve a voice as well. They deserve a voice as well. But I don't think it's deniable too that terrible things have happened. Like anytime there's a war, no matter what like altruistic reasons that you might say that the war starts, and like I said, there's very legitimate reasons that from Russia's perspective, when you talk about being provoked by the West, which I would 100% agree with, or the whole denazification, we know that there's a Nazi problem in Ukraine. We know that. The Canadian government and the American government has been helping to arm and fund these very people. So we know that that's an element of truth to that. But regardless of whatever of these like altruistic reasons that Russia gives, it still doesn't mean that horrible, terrible things don't happen in this process and civilians aren't killed, kids aren't killed, sexual assaults, all the terrible things that happen in any war, So I think you have to separate talking about the ways that it was provoked and really talking about these very legitimate reasons that I think were legitimate security concerns, while also not just like repeating verbatim the pro-Russian chauvinist viewpoint of it. That's the stance that's the synthesis that I try to have here, I am sympathetic to the viewpoint, even though I do think that there's terrible things that have happened in this war, and I think that's undeniable. I am sympathetic to the viewpoint, though, that like from Russia's perspective, at a certain point, like you have to, when the constant provocation is going on for years and years and years, eventually the options start to run out. That doesn't mean that I support every terrible thing that's happened, but I'm sympathetic to that as well. We all know that America, under the same kind of provocations, would have reacted way more harshly years ago. Like, we know that. We know that for sure. If there was this, and we've talked about that endlessly, these analogies about America, right? We all know that America, in the same situation with the same level of provocation, would have fucking reacted way, way more harshly. Like you look at Iraq, people have made the comparison between the invasion of Ukraine and the Iraq war, saying, well, they're both bad, but it's not exactly the same thing, considering Ukraine is Russia's neighbor. Ukraine was being armed and funded by the West, was being turned into this Western proxy, was going to be used to park nuclear weapons directly off the Russian border, whereas Iraq is halfway around the world from the United States and had posed no threat whatsoever to the United States. And when the United States went into Iraq, it was a shock and awe campaign where they bombed Baghdad day one. Day one, bombed Baghdad to smithereens, killing God knows how many civilians and people. You know? So it's not the same thing. Russia has not done... They've bombed Kiev, they've approached Kiev, but they've never come close to that same kind of shock and awe bombing campaign that the United States did in Baghdad. Not anywhere near. Thank you. That makes me believe whatever you say. Thank you, Pam. I'm glad you support my toque. It is important to maintain that context. Yeah, that analogy just falls apart immediately. The whole like Russia, Ukraine, Iraq war analogy. Even though I think Putin himself has admitted that Russia was kind of inspired by the rhetoric, and that's why I think it's important not to fall for it, right? Because he was inspired by the rhetoric around the war on terror, and we're doing this for democracy, because they were to protect our freedom, to defeat tyranny. He was inspired by that bullshit Western rhetoric that the West uses when we want to go in and bomb the fuck out of a country and take their resources and kill their civilians. Putin just hates our freedom, that's right. Comparing Putin to Hitler's straight-up Holocaust denial. I'm sick of this lib shit as well. And as am I, Alexandro. And there's all this shit in Canadian media right now about the Holodomor. Which is a form of soft Holocaust denial. This obsession with the Holodomor in Canada. And the evil Soviet intentional genocidal famine in Ukraine, which I'm sorry, I know this is upsetting for people, but that no serious historian actually believes is a real thing that happened. And every single source of this intentional genocidal starvation campaign comes from fascists, the very same people that are rehabilitating Stepan Bandera today and these brutal genocidal Holocaust perpetrators. And it's double genocide theory, which is a form of Holocaust denial. The idea that there's an equal, just as bad Soviet genocide that we have to hold up alongside the Holocaust that the Nazis committed, that's literally Holocaust denial. It's double genocide theory. And this is mainstream, the mainstream media and in politics across the political spectrum in this country believes this. Jagmeet Singh was posting about this yesterday. I follow this one person in Ukraine and they always post pictures of themselves going on vacation and partying in other countries, then returning to Ukraine. It confuses the shit out of me because people in Iraq, Syria, Palestine could only dream of leaving those countries during the invasions there. Yeah, I mean, you've seen images from Kiev throughout this conflict where it's just there are people on patios and hanging out. I mean, that shit was not going on in Baghdad. The only Holodomor I know exists is when I free up a hand so I can Holodomor beer. Oh my. Oh my gosh. It is horseshoe theory at the academic level. I mean, it's absolutely it is a form of Holocaust denial, and it's completely mainstream in this country, which is understandable considering this is a country that fetishizes this Ukrainian fascism and calls it, anti-Soviet nationalism, and we fetishize these Waffen SS divisions in Ukraine, and we build monuments to them. It's incredibly fucked up, so it's not surprising that we spread this kind of propaganda. Not until the U.S. troops took over. Then it was like spring break for all the troops stationed at the palaces. Yeah, and they just went hog wild, and the whole like the Iraqi Natural History Museum just destroying countless like priceless historical works of art, just like stabbing it and breaking it, pissing and shitting all over the place. That's an underrated American war crime, isn't it? Just stealing stuff. Yeah. Zimbabwe has a famine. Al Jazeera reports it and mentioned only climate change being a factor. They report on Holodomor, and it was titled Man-Made Famine. I'm telling you, this conflict created a new wave of anti-communist media. I mean, Red Wizard, to say nothing as well, like fucking Churchill, another guy that we fetishize and lionize, who did carry out a man-made famine that we know about, the Bengal famine, which was a deliberate man-made policy coming from Churchill and the British government that killed millions of people in India deliberately because of their race. Like, and we know this. But we don't have the Bengal famine Remembrance Day, where we all post our solemn messages about the genocidal man-made famine created directly by the British government, the British Raj. We don't do this for some reason, right? We just don't. And in fact, we have statues of Churchill, and we still talk about Churchill as if he's this defender of democracy. Red Wizard, I think you had a good comment about this, and I'll read it now, actually, from a few minutes ago. This is the other salt in the wound that I mentioned when this special military operation, whatever happened, because we were going to be pegged with Russia as supporters of this conflict because of the obvious history, and it generated an intensified anti-communist media campaign. Yeah, it's been really overwhelming now for months.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Anti-communists can eat my shorts.
Oh my goodness, Netlocked. Remember, this is a family stream, Netlocked. I appreciate the 25 months of a tier 1. I do appreciate it. This is a family stream, though, so let's cool it with the language, please. Okay? Come on now. Come on. But people yammer on about the Holodomor and the Black Book of Communism. We're literally building a monument to the victims of communism in this country. Not only do we fetishize this, like, these Ukrainian fascists, we call them anti-Soviet nationalists. We help rehabilitate people like Stepan Bandera. These brutal Waffen-SS divisions, Ukrainian, we have build monuments to them, and we're building a big monument to the Victims of Communism Foundation. It is a fascist country. It is. I'm going to piss on the Victims of Communism Monument. And I would not that I would ever direct anyone to commit any kinds of vandalism on that or any other monument. But if someone did do that, I would find it funny. Just as I find it not only funny, but an important public service for whoever it was, the brave hero that spray painted Nazi monument over one of our multiple monuments to these Waffen-SS divisions. Not only do I think it was funny, but I think it was an important public service. I'm not saying you should, but it would be cool if you did. Thank you. Ugh. It's literal violence against Chrystia Freeland. Very true. Free land? Don't mind if I do. That's certainly what we gave to those waves of fascist Ukrainian immigrants after the war. That was certainly our policy, was giving free land to all those folks, all those former SS guys that we just fucking allowed to waltz right into the country. Ugh. Still a little bit stuffed up, folks. With no permission from the actual, from us land guardians. That's right. We gave former members of the SS way more respect and treated them with way more dignity than the actual indigenous population that lived in this country long before settlers actually arrived here in the first fucking place. While we were putting indigenous folks in residential schools and trying to intentionally commit genocide against them and destroy their culture, destroy their identities, destroy their families, we fucking rolled out the red carpet for these former SS guys from Ukraine and said, come on in, folks. Please come on into our country. These are the kind of values that we like to espouse in this country, by the way. And considering like the fascists actually learned about some of the horrific violence that they committed, they learned it from the best, which is us. And the violence that we committed against indigenous people. And they said, these are the exact people that we want continuing to come to this country after the war. What's so evil about the Nazi mythologizing of the famine is that in order to treat it like a Holocaust on Ukrainians, you have to ignore A, all the non-Ukrainians, including Russians who died from it, and B, the kulaks who killed their own livestock and burned their own grain so that the collective farms couldn't redistribute it. Yeah, you do. You do have to ignore that. You also have to ignore that, like, after that time, there weren't famines anymore, after that collectivization process finished. A mismanaged famine is nowhere near a purposeful and industrialized mass murder meant to clear land for settler colonists. No, it is not. No, it is not. I just read about the standoff between the Mohawk and Quebec in 1990. That was Oka, right? It is seriously fucked up. That was over a fucking golf course. A golf course. We sent in armed troops to subdue this uprising to protect a fucking golf course. We sent in the troops for that. And I used to think Canada's just a bunch of polite people. That is one of the things that I try to do. Is dispel people's myths about what Canada's about. Hey man, I just followed you to say you have a pretty cool about me. Thank you very much, Spacey A. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was our friend and valued mod, Lodane, really helped with that. Created all those cool images and everything. Your Mounties sure do love to kill indigenous people. Cannot get enough of it. They just absolutely love it. Still to this day. And like we talk about, the residential schools, and we talk about how the whole residential school system was like a mistake from our past, which never went away either. We still have indigenous kids dying to this very day in the foster care system. We talk about how the last residential school closed in the 90s. Well, it did. I mean, even if it did close, we still have it was just replaced by the foster care system. And we've got indigenous kids dying to this very day in the foster care system. But you don't call it that anymore, so we can't hear you. That's right. What news organizations are truthful toward China? I've forgotten. Not protest related, researching solar energy. I actually don't know, Dimitri. I think all of our media establishment is incredibly biased towards China. and which we're going to take a look at in a few minutes when we talk about these protests that have been going on. We're just such an evil country. I don't know what to do. It's really remarkable, isn't it? Like when you start tugging at these threads, and I don't like Lana. I don't know about your upbringing, but if you grew up in Canada, it's like as a settler, as a white person, especially, it takes work to like pull at these threads. The maple washing is very strong. The propaganda is extremely strong in this country to give you this warped idea about Canada. We're all just a bunch of nice, polite people, and we're not as bad as America. And yeah, we did a little light genocide, but we weren't happy about it, and we feel really bad about it. And we fought in World War II, and our boys died in World War I, and we don't do all the bad imperialism that America does. Like it's really difficult to unlearn this. Many people go through their whole lives without unlearning it. You know, that's one. I think something that I have really valued doing this kind of work on Twitch or Twitter or whatever is making people understand there's real history, because it took work for me too. I grew up in Brockville, Ontario, you know, and growing up in Brockville, Ontario, you certainly don't learn about Canada in this way. So it's been a point of pride for me that I've been able to, at least to a few dozen people, even if a few people have changed their perceptions about what Canada is about because of the work that I do on here. That's one thing that I am genuinely proud that I've been able to do. It's eerie to be old enough to remember the nationalism really kicking in after 2001, just turning us into a maple leaf flag on an aircraft carrier. For sure. And we've talked before about the fucking Molson commercials and that shit in the late 90s that were an essential part of that. Our identity was created in beer commercials. It's so sad. It is so sad. The amount I've learned since following you over the years, Rob, is astounding. Greatly appreciate all your work. Thank you, Knitlocked. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I saw an ad on YouTube by the Canadian Energy whatever about how oil extraction is actually really good for Indigenous people. For sure, yeah. Like the handful of Indigenous people that actually end up getting decent jobs in this industry are able to earn a decent living, for sure. Let's not talk about the land defenders and water defenders that are opening up these, that are occupying these protest camps, protesting this infrastructure and getting fucking assaulted and having troops rolled in to beat the shit out of them, arrest them, harass them, the constant racism that they experience in our media and our culture. Let's not talk about that. But sure, to the handful of people that actually work in this industry, that's where the whole jobs versus profits thing comes in. I always like to talk about that as well, right? We always hear about the jobs, those precious jobs. The oil industry, folks, is giving these great jobs to people, to Indigenous people, women, LGBTQ people. All sorts of folks are getting great jobs. Well, where are the profits going, though? Where are those profits going? Are the profits, when there's pipelines built over unceded Wet'suwet'en territory, are the profits going to these communities to build hospitals and water treatment centers, or infrastructure, or rail, or to alleviate poverty, or to give people housing? Is that where the profits are going? No, they are not. The profits are being sucked through a pipeline, getting out of the country, and going into the bank accounts of oil industry CEOs in America or Saudi Arabia or wherever else. Yeah, that's exactly it, Pam. Human rights, healthy environment. No, it's the jobs that are important. Never mind the profits. Go to transnational corps offshore. Exactly. And then when they take the jobs away, they blame the government. They say, oh, the government is so mean to us that we had to take these jobs away. These big multi-billion-dollar oil conglomerates. The government was being so mean with their pesky red tape that we just were forced to take away these jobs. And then literally the people that work in these industries are so fucking brainwashed that they're like, yeah, government, yeah, I hate you. You need to give no more environmental regulations. Oh, excuse me. I'm talking a lot today. I'm hooting and hollering again today, folks. I'm hooting and hollering again. As I am wont to do. Hello, William P. Dot. Hello, what's up? It's very frustrating, isn't it? It's all very frustrating. And yeah, again, then while we're doing this, this is how we treat our indigenous communities. This is how we treat our environment. We've played this large role in whitewashing fascism, of creating this right-wing Ukrainian national identity. And then we're told we have to support endless arms transfers to these fucking Ukrainian freedom defenders. Because that's what you have to do to support democracy and human rights. Because Canada cares about these things. We hold human rights in such high regard that we must
simply use
give
the computer
nonstop
to mark
arms
up
transfers to
the size
Ukraine.
of the account.
Have you seen the complete mental breakdown of Naomi Klein's rotting liberal brain? I haven't seen that, Dimitri, but thank you for the 100 friend coin. I saw that there was some Klein-related activity, but I didn't see what it was over. Have you considered that China needs to open up? They're being selfish. They're being very selfish by not allowing their citizens to just die by the millions of this preventable disease. I see fellow Dane. What's up, comrade? Social distancing. It's so sad considering that's the person that wrote Shock Doctrine. Shock Doctrine was such an important book for me, just in my own political sort of journey or whatever it is. It is sad, isn't it? But it is, once again, you can identify these trends, these important trends, like this kind of disaster capitalism that she outlined. But unfortunately, it is what no theory does to an MF, isn't it? You have to have the theory as well in order to really take this knowledge and synthesize it into, a workable understanding of everything. If you don't have the theory, then you lose the plot. I see fellow Danes being outraged over white Canada's treatment of First Nations, and meanwhile they're entirely incapable of realizing we've been doing the same shit in Greenland, where a lot of Greenlanders now have Danish names, don't speak Greenlandic, and we force them to build an infrastructure system mirroring our Danish one they can't pay for without financial support from the imperial owner country, ensuring they can never achieve full independence. You mean to tell me these Scandinavian countries aren't an example of socialism that works? What the heck? Oh boy, I don't understand this. Can I ask you to read the Shock Doctrine? If you are pressed, stick to Chapter 9, Slamming the Door on History, A Crisis in Poland, A Massacre in China. And isn't the crisis in Poland about solidarity, was it? The right-wing Polish union that was sponsored by the CIA that led to Poland. It was the first splinter in Poland. Is that right? Right? Am I correct in that? It's about how capitalist forces in China colluded with the West to crush pro-democracy movements and created market Stalinism. I wish we had market Stalinism. And the thing is, we've talked about in the past as well when it comes to China and Deng Xiaoping and the opening up of China and the embrace of capitalism and the role that China played in creating neoliberalism, which is all true. And how even I think when people like Naomi wrote the Shock Doctrine, it wasn't clear what was happening with China. And China did play a large role in, I don't agree with this idea of, I don't know what market Stalinism is, or this idea of crushing pro-democracy movements, because you talk about pro-democracy movements in China are quite often linked to Western NGOs and the CIA and all this stuff. The whole whitewashing of Tibet's history prior to Chinese influence and all this stuff. We don't need to get into all the explicit details of that. But I do understand that there was a point where people on the left were very skeptical about China. It wasn't just Naomi Klein. Even like in Black Shirts and Reds, our boy, Michael Parenti. I think even Michael Parenti in like the mid 90s was kind of writing off China as being not really a country that's really interested in building socialism, but had kind of sold out to become sort of a Western comprador state, similar to how other nations had kind of become havens for Western capitalism. But so I kind of understand why some people that were prominent leftists in the 90s had this idea about China. But as I've explained before, I do think that's what's been different over the last 10 years as it's kind of swung back to the left. And all of a sudden there's these new reforms coming in to eliminate some of the excesses that come with capitalism. And you understand the way that they used capitalism to build their productive forces, right? So they could build infrastructure, so they could eliminate poverty. Also, so they could not be sanctioned and overthrown by the United States, which is a concern for any country that's trying to build socialism. So I think a lot of folks, when you take a look at China through the lens of what's been happening for the last 10 years, it becomes a lot less black and white.
You can count on me. You're gonna have a good old
I kind of
Rob
understand
to,
that some
talk you
people
through
were
all
skeptical
this.
about it. More like malarkey Stalinism. That's right. And thank you, Comrade Social
You can count
Distancing,
on
for
me. You're gonna
the
have a
2
good
gifted
old
subs.
Rob to
Thank
talk
you.
you through all this.
So that's what I mean. I understand being skeptical about China if you were one of these prominent leftists from the 90s, but I think not allowing any new information to change your viewpoint on that over the last 10 years is a big blind spot for a lot of folks. And I don't know what I wish we had market Stalinism. If we want to talk about a real solution to the climate crisis, which Naomi talks about often, I've even talked to Naomi about this myself. If you care about the climate crisis, we probably need something like market Stalinism to do that. If you want to talk about trying to put a stop to these cataclysmic events or punish the people that are responsible for destroying our natural environment, for lying about it, we would probably need something like market Stalinism to do that. So yeah, I understand to a certain extent being skeptical about China. I don't understand not being able to change your
size of the
viewpoint on
account
this with new information. And yeah, so of course, this is a good way to pivot to talking about these protests. I've really been talking a lot today. Jeez, I only have about another hour. So she says, popular decentralized uprising in China against authoritarian rule has been so long in coming. The international left, such as it is, should stand in clear solidarity. Absolutely not. I will not be doing that. No. Again, we were joking about it up front, right? The way that people say, oh, I support the exact viewpoint of the United States State Department and Western imperialism, but not for any of the mean, scary reasons, for these positive leftist reasons. We just happen to have reached the same conclusion, that this is a terrible, bad place that needs to be overthrown, right? We've just reached the same conclusions, but me for good reasons, not for the same reasons as these nefarious actors in the U.S. State Department, who are waging this nonstop propaganda war against China. And I do want to point out as well, when we talk about this, just as when we talk about any protest in an official enemy country of the United States or Canada, I always want to try and, whether it's Iran or Venezuela or Cuba or whatever, I always want to recognize that people around in any country have the right to protest things, right? Even in official enemy states. And we shouldn't just assume that anything that ever happens, any kind of protest, is immediately it's like, oh, the CIA is handing bags of money to these people. I don't believe that. And in fact, I would say for sure that the zero COVID policy in China has been difficult for people that live there. I don't doubt that. Does anyone doubt that? The question is whether zero COVID and the way that they've enforced that in their country is superior or more amenable to what our governments have done, which is just to say, fuck it. Millions of people are going to die, but we don't want to do anything about it, so we're just going to sacrifice those millions of people. Like, I get that zero COVID is probably difficult. It's probably not always easy. And I don't doubt that there are people that do genuinely want to protest that outside of any like Western interference or any of that bullshit. I still think, that I would like to live in a country where the government actually took a pandemic that was killing this number of people seriously and actually took these kind of preventative measures. And didn't just make this calculation that like, well, most people that get this virus won't die. Many people will. Many disabled people, immunocompromised people will. Some just random people who react to it badly. Versus a country that said like, we're going to take steps to try to ensure that as few people get this disease as possible. And it's not even about the people that dying, right? This is part of the thing that really bugs me about
you can count
discourse
on me.
around
good
like
old Rob to
vaccines.
talk you through all this.
Thank you for another gifted sub, Comrade Social Distancing. It's part of the frustrating thing about all the discourse about vaccines. Like they're doing tests on our children by giving them these untested vaccines. It's part of some social experiment, but with no thought to the idea that like we won't know for years what long-term damage, even if you get COVID and don't die. I had COVID. I was really, really sick. I did not die. I don't know overall what that did to me, what that did to my immune system, to my body, any increased likelihood of other illnesses that I'm going to get down the line. We don't know. So I feel like I've been experimented on. I feel like my kid has been experimented on. Not because of vaccines. My kid had COVID. He was like pretty healthy. He was not that sick, but I don't know what the impact this is going to have on his immune system, on his on his development. We don't know. We are being experimented on, not because of vaccines. Zero COVID is difficult, so let's not do like that. The country I'm tweeting from, the US, they were so smart, Ryan Grimm. I saw the thing from Ryan Grimm as well. And like I said, they've taken this very seriously. And I'm sure zero COVID policy has not always been a fucking blast to live under for people in China. Right? And I've, as you all know, I'm a China defender, a China enjoyer. I try to push back on the relentless propaganda about China that we hear. That doesn't mean I think that we should fetishize China or imagine that it doesn't have problems. We've talked about the huge gains of the Communist Party of China. It's still a very poor country. There's still problems. Like I said, with zero COVID has been, I'm sure, very difficult for people. But like when we're living in a country whose government just said like, fuck it, like we're just going to let people die. And we're just going to let people get this disease that we don't even know what's going to do to them. We're really going to sit there and judge another country for their harsh methods of confronting this. Like all the stuff with the Olympics, when they had the Olympics and there was people like at the bar going like, there's a person in a hazmat suit by the chocolate fountain. And it's like, yeah, there's a pandemic going around. They're trying not to spread a dangerous disease in their country. We're truly a nation of brain damaged people. Considering, I mean, it's so on the nose too, right? Subversive history, considering the long history of Europeans deliberately infecting indigenous people and people in the global south and people in different cultures with deadly diseases. Like this has been a grand scheme of that. It's been like a large scale version of that. COVID does possible damage to anywhere you have capillaries, so literally every organ. Repeat infections have cumulative risk. We know it's going to be bad. And that's part of what I think the Chinese government, the bet that they're making, right? It's not just about protecting people from getting the illness in the first place, although that's part of it. But it's also about making a bet that they're not going to have this massive wave of disabled people in like 5-10 years from now, and that their workforce is going to be overall way healthier and way more efficient. We're able to like carry on with society, rather than the West, where we've all got COVID now, and 5-10 years from now we're gonna have this massive wave of people experiencing the consequences of that, and being permanently disabled from it. I've so far never caught the shit, but I've become way more agoraphobic. It was awful having COVID. It was fucking awful. And Sarah, I want to read the odds of encountering a COVID positive individual in mainland China are lower than being hit by lightning. Most Chinese simply haven't experienced a pandemic. Yeah. And regardless of whether there's been restrictive lockdown measures, which obviously there have been, that remains a fact. That remains a fact. They've protected millions of lives. They've prevented millions of people from contracting this disease and dying. From what I've read from people who were there, a lot of the protest movement is actually upset with implementation at the local level. They don't want the head of Xi Jinping. In some cases, people are protesting for more stringent restrictions. In the case of the apartment fire, the local government in Xinjiang is catching flack for doing zero COVID in a draconian way that goes against central government stipulations and is believed this contributed to the fire deaths. Yeah, and it's worth pointing out as well, Lana, that a lot of the Xinjiang propaganda that we read about the genocide that was going on there, talking about pretend Western genocides that we like to talk about, that one as well. Even the news media coverage that we read of that now, which is oh, by the way, none of that stuff is even going on.
Use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
But it's all zero COVID.
Example of an actual protest we should support. Interesting how this one does not get publicized.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Example of an actual protest we should support. Interesting how it does not get publicized. Thank you, Dimitri, for the 300 friend coin. And nevertheless, even if I don't doubt that zero COVID has been difficult to live under, I do not doubt that it has. And I'm sure that there are people that are protesting for totally legitimate reasons. Nevertheless, anytime when there's going to be a protest in China, which is the number one enemy of the state right now, which is the number one victim of Western propaganda, the last fucking thing any of us should be doing is saying, oh, we need to support this. We need to support these protests. We see the media propaganda machine immediately kicking into high gear. Every single Western journalist, mainstream journalism outlet, going immediate full court press to be they want to overthrow the regime. They hate communism. They want to end the lockdowns. They want to support they want to become a Western satellite state. I mean, they're immediately going directly into that narrative. So the last fucking thing we should be doing, regardless of how legitimate any of it is supporting that and contributing to it. Western media, Falun Gong, hate Hong Kong rioters, Uyghur jihadists, American State Department. The Chinese are protesting the evil CCP and zero COVID. Actual Chinese Uyghur protesters lower our parking fees and will play an encore of Socialism is Good for You, Mr. Secretary. The Secretary of Urumqi responded to the needs of the people and reduced the property fees and parking fees of the people.
我姓崔，叫崔玉淼。好，第一个问题，疫情期间3个月也好，3个半月也好，咱们这个小区，包括咱们高新区的，需要这个问题要解决的物业费全免。
So do you mean they're actually responding to the needs of these protesters? Is that the point of this? Similar to how when we had that whole SOS Cuba thing, where President Diaz immediately on day one went down and started talking to the protesters and listening to them. That thing that often happens in Western countries, right? Very interesting. It is very interesting, isn't it? I have to look at this though, because we talk about the ways that Western media is immediately just going into overdrive on this. This is sick. This is supposed to be a left-wing progressive news outlet, right? Raw Story senior editor Bob Brigham says China is so this is genocidal language. China is so ridiculously overpopulated that COVID was a blessing, and the only problem was the absurd government overreach. China deserves judgment even from places dumb enough to have shut down schools. This is how Westerners are talking about this. Why didn't the Chinese simply allow this disease to just cull their country? Just this kind of Darwinistic process of reducing the population, this overpopulated country. Why did they not simply allow millions of people to die? It was a blessing. It was a blessing for this. And by the way, thank you to Comrade Social Distancing for another gifted sub a few minutes ago. Thank you. And for all the support. This was the funniest. This was definitely the funniest tweet that I saw about this, though. Let me see here. This was so great. Like, here's Western propaganda against China in a nutshell. Like, this is just so fucking perfect. It's beyond parody. Vivian Wu says this is the scale of the protests tonight in Shanghai. Notice police didn't do anything but standing calmly watching people protest and shouting. So, in her own coverage, notice how the police are not doing anything. They're calmly just allowing people to protest. And then she says, it's not benevolence. My guess, they need to ask for directives from the top authorities. Police might be stunned, as nobody dares doing so for decades. So it's like even when the Chinese police in Beijing just stand around and calmly allow people to protest, they're calmly allowing people to protest, but very authoritarianly, though. It's even more evidence of their authoritarianness. The fact that the police are not just going in with water cannons and beating the fuck out of the protesters as they would in the United States of America. Yeah, with the BBC Hong Kong Bureau. And we saw that story of the BBC journalist being imprisoned or being called in for questioning, who was on one of the lists of these, like, of the organizers of this event. It was on a Telegram page. And perhaps this was just a journalist who was doing due diligence and monitoring things that were going on in this Telegram channel, perhaps. But then there's this, like, amazing... We're so shocked that China or any other country is skeptical of the role that Western journalists play in trying to destabilize and overthrow their countries, when they're literally part of these media establishments that constantly lie about them. And then we say, I can't believe China's so skeptical about this. I'm sure if there was Chinese journalists that were on the list of organizers of the convoy protest in Ottawa, of course people in our Canadian media would just say, well, that's totally okay. They're just doing basic journalistic practices. And we would totally be like, that's totally fine. That's fine by us. Let me see. She had another great comment in this thread. Let me see if I can find it. It's very funny. I shared it with my China chat that I'm in. This is great. Like, it's fucking amazing. Ah, shit. Sorry. Let me see if I can find this here. Okay. I did it. Oh, what the fuck? Okay. Sorry. I think I can do this here. Just slide this over. There. Sorry about that. So this person says, or is it the party deciding to provide a little space for the Chinese to vent their frustration? She says, no. All they care about is how to maintain the rule for now. It's she-centric. So again, she's like, these cops that are allowing people to protest peacefully, it's all part of this nefarious Chinese plot. It's all part of this nefarious plot. I have more stuff to look at on this. There's the thing about the journalist. There's a couple of threads here that I wanted to take a look at. I mean, to talk about the roots of this protest in Xinjiang, this thread I think is pretty valuable. First time hearing your takes on China. Are you generally okay with how they've conducted themselves, foreign and domestic policy, over the last 30 years? I mean, first of all, I guess it's like, I don't think it matters whether I'm okay with anything that they do. I'm kind of generally more concerned with what my country is doing and what the West is doing. And I think if you look at China 30 years ago and now, there's been this undeniable, incredible world historic achievement, actually, of development, extremely rapid development, and the way that they opened up their economy, avoided getting sanctioned and overthrown by the U.S., created lots of jobs and built up productive forces. It built massive amounts of infrastructure, a massive world historic high-speed rail project, which is like staggering to look at this scale of it. Have tried to eliminate extreme poverty. There's been a massive increase in like life expectancy, huge increase in development, infrastructure. Like it's been incredible. It's incredible to look at. So I think that that's something we should support. And again, when you compare Western imperialism, even over the last 20 years, like the war on terror led by the United States, Canada was also a willing participant in that. Bombing, overthrowing governments, torturing people, blowing up weddings and hospitals and funerals, and God knows how many civilians and kids, creating massive migrant crises, refugee crises, 37 million refugees as a result of the war on terror. And you compare that to what China has done in response to their own issues with like terrorism and extremism. I mean, I don't really think you compare these two policies about which one's worse, which one's more barbaric, which one's more violent, and which one is not, you know? I don't think there's any comparison whatsoever. But ultimately, that's the point, though, is that I don't think it really matters whether I'm okay with it or not. You know, China is not perfect. I don't think we should fetishize China or any other country. Certainly, they make mistakes. Certainly, there's problems in China. But like, I just take it as like it's none of my business. And in fact, when I see this never-ending stream of Western propaganda about China designed to make us hate and fear and want to overthrow this place, you know, the more I start to question why these propaganda campaigns are taking place, who's benefiting from that, and are there geopolitical or economic reasons why this propaganda campaign is taking place? Does it have anything to do with human rights and democracy and authoritarianism? No, it doesn't, right? No, of course it doesn't. These are the questions that I try to ask myself.
You can count
about
on
this.
me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Found the tanky.
Thank you, freelance communists. Thank you for the 8 months of tier 1. I hope that answers your question. China has many problems, but 99% of Westerners are completely uninterested in them and prefer to make up ones that don't exist to spin imperialist anti-China narratives. That does seem to be the way it goes, doesn't it? And like I said, I think it's important when you see all of Western media united to create a certain narrative about a place, and these repeated flashpoints, which all have linked to Western like NGOs and the intelligence agencies and the security state. You see these different flashpoints in Hong Kong, in Xinjiang. Now you have this kind of stuff, and you see all of Western media united in creating this narrative. You just have to start to wonder, these are the propaganda arms of like our security state of our massive corporations here. Why are they doing that? Is it because they care about protecting people? Is it because they care about human rights and democracy? We know that they don't. So we have to ask ourselves why those campaigns are happening. You know? And the more that I see these propaganda campaigns happening, the more it makes me want to try and get to the heart of what is actually going on in these countries, rather than what the narrative that our media wants us to believe about it. Anyway, here's this thread about this fire. Here's my take on the tragic fire in Urumqi, Xinjiang, China. How did it happen?
before
This
this
is some
fire.
guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada.
Oh, goodness.
I was turned
Majority
on to
Report,
this
thank you very
sick
much for the
individual,
raid.
and I found this.
Sam Sater, what a fucking nightmare. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for the raid. Majority Report raiders, get on in here. Bring it in here. Smash the follow button. I am Rob. I am a socialist Twitch streamer here in Montreal. We're talking about these protests in China, which we're hearing a lot about. Trying to get to the bottom of what is actually going on with these protests. Trying to understand what Western media is saying and trying to get to the actual truth of what's happening. Please smash the follow button. If you want to participate in the chat, if you want to be part of the community, I appreciate it a lot. And hey, join the Discord server as well. That goes for anyone, any lurkers that have been following along, that are curious about, that are maybe TRRS curious about the community. Join the Discord server, okay? It's really great. You can do so by clicking the link in the chat right there. So yeah, please smash the follow button, and thanks for joining us. I hope the Majority Report stream was good today. How'd it go? I hope it was a good one. So I was just talking about the reasons that I'm a little bit, while I understand
count on me.
that
You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Please subscribe Majority Report, folks.
Plunger Man, thank you very much for the 14 months tier 2. I appreciate that, Plunger Man. Thank you. And yes, Majority Report folks, if you can, please subscribe to the channel. It's very helpful. You can subscribe for $5 per month. You can use our Twitch Prime to subscribe completely free of charge. Costs nothing whatsoever. It's very, very helpful, and this is the best community on this whole platform. You're very lucky to have stumbled onto this program today. So, subscribe, follow, join the Discord, get the emotes. It's some of the best emotes on this platform, the best community on this platform. We'd be happy to have you. So, I was just talking about the ways that I don't doubt that the zero COVID policy in China has been difficult for people that have been living through it. There's, I think, serious questions about what the proper response to COVID should be. And I think criticizing zero COVID from our perspective in the West, where our governments have just been like, well, fuck it, we'll just let millions of people die and get this disease that we don't know what health ramifications is going to cause years from now, even if people don't die from it. You know, I don't think it's quite as cut and dry. We love to criticize China's draconian, authoritarian zero COVID policy, but I'm not so sure that our government's like Darwinist, death cult approach to COVID has been really ideal either. You know, it's kind of weird that the Majority Report gets the kind of shit it does when they have no issue sending their raids to vicious communists like Rob. It's true. It's true. I think it's Matt Lech at Majority Report. I think unknowingly I sucked Matt into our twisted web of tanky propaganda. I think. Now, the West is in no position to criticize COVID-0. And so we're just taking a look at a thread about this fire in Urumqi that led to these protests and why it actually happened. Pandemics are hard. It's very true. We've found this out the hard way. So before this fire, the general trajectory of the COVID policy was to gradually reopen in a stepped process, but this fire could be the catalyst that accelerates the process. First of all, it doesn't matter if zero COVID policy were the direct cause or not. I've been on Weibo for hours. Pretty much every post is blaming zero COVID policy, specifically the Urumqi city government's version. The people is using this as a window to vent their displeasure, which I was told was not possible in China. I was told that if you have one critical thing to say, you're just not allowed to ever say it. There's no free speech, right? That's what we tell ourselves. Turns out that's not really true. You can actually go on Chinese social media and be like, hey, this sucks. I'm not happy about this. This is actually a pretty common thing that happens, but they're all going to be executed in the town square. That's right. They're going to round them up. They're going to round them up and put them in a wood chipper or whatever.
Now to the actual cause of the tragedy. Local pandemic control staff did not stop the fire engine. They can't get closer because the alleyway leading up to the apartment was blocked by parked cars. The barricade was torn down and did not block the fire engines. The direct cause of the tragedy were parked cars blocking the way. Here's the crucial part. From the video, you can clearly see a car turned on with brake lights on and its bonnet hood open. They clearly tried to jumpstart some cars. Otherwise, there is no reason to have your bonnet open. This could be the evidence to suggest people were not locked inside and residents could come out, as at least some did. From the video, you can also see trying to push the car out of the way. Regardless of the direct cause, this occurred under excessive pandemic control in the Tianshan district of Urumqi. The excessive pandemic control were in direct violation of the measures presented by the central government. The problem is the disconnect between central and local. 2 weeks ago, the central government announced 20 measures to optimize pandemic control, where it suggested the end of citywide lockdowns. Many local governments were on point. Some used the language of slowing the rate of spread instead of returning to zero. The new 20-point policy were set up to prevent local officials from what they called intensifying from layer to layer with regards to COVID. Local government must not excessively reinterpret the central government policy, increasing severity as orders passed down the ranks. And the people ended up getting the most severe version. This policy disconnect is partly attributed to the confusing aim of trying to keep COVID cases as low as possible, at the same time gradually reopen. I originally gave this period of policy confusion several weeks to months as government on all levels draw up plans for the transitional period, but this fire quickened that process. In fact, it may even derail the original timetable. Zero COVID messaging must go. The government must not replace long-term aim with short-term objectives. The objective of curbing the virus is a short-term goal. The long-term aim must be a clear roadmap to reopening the society. It's also really worth pointing out that we could have at the beginning of this pandemic worked with China to, contain the pandemic globally. And the fact that we've completely abandoned all restrictions whatsoever has made it even more difficult for them to maintain COVID zero, right? COVID zero was a possibility if we had actually globally worked together to totally eliminate COVID. This was a possibility still in the early stages of the pandemic. The reason that COVID zero has gone on for so long and been such a difficult thing for Chinese society, I think, is partially because of the reason that we've just refused to follow any restrictive measures whatsoever. Right? That's been a big part of it. Oh my goodness, look at this. One sec here. My low light compensation on, folks. It's not good. Not to mention collaboration on vaccine development and manufacturing. Absolutely. Absolutely. We could have as well not only worked with China to try to get to actual COVID zero, but we could have opened up the copyrights for these pharmaceutical drugs and vaccines to get more people vaccinated in the global south rather than completely screwing them and allowing it to continue and mutate and all these new variants to emerge. That's been a part of it as well. The West is responsible for training COVID to be more deadly and immune evasive. Absolutely. As part of the reason that it's been, I think, a situation in China because you can't get to COVID zero when all of the Western world just completely gives up on any kind of COVID restrictions. I've lived in Southeast Asia. Stairwells often full of trading company goods, boxes, roof access, doors chained, locked. Okay, that's interesting. Cooperating for the common good. I mean, absolutely. A crazy, crazy concept. So this thread, this goes on here. This is from Zhao Daoshuai. The dilemma for the central government is that if reopening were declared and no proper mechanism were set up to prevent a sudden reopening, then the local governments would just reopen immediately, overwhelming the healthcare system. Finally, we must remain rational. This isn't a revolution to topple the government. It's legitimate displeasure against a specific policy. There are already terrorist sympathizers race baiting. All Chinese are united in our patriotism because we want our country to be better. So a pretty nuanced take about why this fire happened and why these protests are going on. Which I think is important to have that perspective when we have our whole media establishment now in overdrive, being like the Chinese people, they want to overthrow Xi Jinping. We already remember there was that story a few months ago how there was a coup. There was a coup, and it was basically liberal QAnon, Xi Jinping has like they were doing like, he has like a ankle bracelet. He's under house arrest. You know, these people have been fetishizing this kind of stuff. They've been promoting the idea of this government being destabilized and overthrown for a long time. And now they're using this, again, a very legitimate thing, using that as a way to further their own sort of geopolitical ends. And we shouldn't contribute to that. Right? Let's recognize that these things can be totally real and legitimate, a legitimate response to this very tough zero COVID policy, but we also don't need to contribute to this Western propaganda destabilization campaign at the same time. Oh, please, yes, Chinese like no elections, no say in their leader's direction. Do you know anything about like how the actual government works in China? It doesn't seem like you do. And first of all, I live in fucking Canada, and like a lot of people that watch this show live in the United States. Do we have say in the United States about the direction, the political direction of our country? Do you actually believe that? Do you actually believe that that's true? That we have a say, that we live in a democracy? That we live in a democracy where through our precious elections and our precious voting and our precious multi-party liberal democracy, that we have say or impact over like actual policies, like the political policies that our government follows? Oh, you voted out Trump. Congratulations. What did that actually change in terms of like economic policy? What is actually different as a result of that? You're choosing from like two different factions of the same capitalist imperialist party. Congratulations. That's what you get to choose from. You get the right-wing faction or the extreme right populist racist faction. Good for you. That's like a wonderful democracy. You get to have this great choice between the right-wing guy or the even farther right-wing guy. Very, very democratic. We just voted out Trump as pure baby brain shit. And yet Afghanistan is still being starved by the Biden administration. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird how that's happening? And this tough on China policy is still continuing unabated, right? And how things like the child tax credit, populist economic policies that were slashing child poverty in half, which happened under Trump, are getting taken away from people under Biden. What a great democracy that is. Americans also didn't vote for W. Bush or Trump. They were appointed by the EC. Then why are you fetishizing American democracy, sir or ma'am? You're literally admitting that you live in an authoritarian dictatorship. You're saying George W. Bush and Trump weren't democratically elected. That's not a fucking democracy. Jesus. Come on. Let's get it together here. Our democracy is so good except when it fails, which it does all the time. Yeah, it just does all the fucking time. My word. Our country is so democratic that we get these undemocratic fascist leaders appointed every second election cycle. My goodness. Anyway. God, I've just been talking nonstop today. I have a pretty sore throat here. We're going to have to cut this off soon, folks. Hopefully people will recognize the work that I've been doing today, hooting and hollering all day. Liberals are trying to change the Electoral College. We don't give up as last election shows. Okay, well, all the power to you. I'm sure any year now, those liberals are going to change the Electoral College rules and the Supreme Court and all that stuff. They're going to get right on that. Any year now. It's not the Tim Pool look, okay? This is a toque. First of all, it's not a beanie. And so it's just different first and foremost. And I'm more handsome than Tim Pool. I have the correct ideas rather than the bad ideas. This content is good rather than bad. And my music side project is better than Tim Pool's, so let's be clear on this. Rob, what is your favorite beer? I like one of the fruity ones. I like a nice like wheat beer with like an orange slice in it. Okay? I'm not an IPA guy. No thank you to IPAs. If I wanted to have an IPA, I would just eat a big bowl of hops. Yeah, Bud Light Lime. Bud Light Lime is probably up there for me, definitely. There's also a Bud Light strawberry lemonade, which is quite tasty as well. Chuck Schumer is going to overturn Citizens United any day now. Any day now. Remember when Obama bulldozed Zuccotti Park and Occupy? It was very democracy. Or yeah, when they fucking sent in the militarized police to shut down the Black Lives Matter protests. And all those early Black Lives Matter Ferguson protesters were found later mysteriously killed in burned out cars. Very democratic country. Kamala's about to go full parliamentarian. Thank you. A Hoe Garden is good. Yeah, give me a Hoe Garden with a nice lemon slice or an orange or a lime. Very good stuff. They've been promising to codify Roe v. Wade for decades. I'm sure they will now that it's been repealed. Any moment now. Before I continue, folks, I got a little bit more on this stuff. Before I continue, I'm just going to go grab a little beverage. Okay, I'm going to go grab a beverage. I'm not taking a real break. I'm not taking a break today. This is 3 full straight hours of hooting and hollering, which I hope people recognize and reward by subscribing and filling up the sub goal. I hope people recognize the commitment I have to this content. I'll be right back, though. I did just get a new chair. I got a new gaming chair. So you won't have to look at this like ratty, messed up chair anymore. I got a new gaming chair. That was another Black Friday product that I purchased today. Chin chin, folks. Got a grapefruit buble. Anyway. Okay, what else do I have on this here? I think this is an important tweet to talk about the sort of no-win scenario for China, the way that Western media is going to criticize China regardless. Like we criticize China's zero COVID policy while millions of our own citizens are dying or becoming permanently disabled. And there's really nothing they can really do, you know? China maintains zero COVID. The West will cry about it. When China opens up, lots of people will die. New mutations and strains will evolve and spread across the globe. We're going to cry about that as well. It's regardless of what the policy is, we're going to use that to advance our own interests. Says he's a socialist and he purchases items. I do. I sometimes purchase products. It is true. I can't deny that.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Oh, snap.
Ben, thank you very much for the 20 months tier 1. A highly valued community member, Bleeplomp Ben. Very, very close, tantalizingly close to the exclusive Highly elite 2-year sub badge. And we really appreciate all her contributions to this channel over the last 20 months. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate you. Think of all the Ukraine war bonds you could have bought for the price of the new chair. That's it. It's not enough for the Ukraine to have this nonstop flow of funds directly from the United States government, a nonstop flow of arms from the weapons contractors. We also have to individually, as citizens, purchase Ukraine war bonds as well and contribute our own hard-earned money to this thing. It's not enough. It's basically a Western satellite state that wouldn't even exist without Western funds and Western backing. It's not enough, though. We still have to contribute. We got to go work at our fucking jobs and send our own money to this place as well. Not good. Do I have any on this here? Anything else? I think I looked at everything I wanted to talk about with zero COVID in China and everything. I think I'm about ready to wind down for the day, folks. 3:15. It's 3:15. I think I'm about ready to wind down here. Okay, we can do another couple minutes of chit chat here. I've been talking a lot. Definitely, I think tomorrow might be a video day over here. Just stopping by before lunch, but I will say about the China stuff. Local government has more power over COVID restrictions, and local politicians are super easy to recall in China, so the people calling to unseat Xi Jinping are obviously pretenders. Yeah, conveniently, the people that's your solution to everything. Conveniently, that's also their solution to this as well. What do you know? This is just an example of why I think we should Balkanize China. It's like that's literally your solution to everything. Everything that ever happens in China, that's your solution. And they're like, well, I still feel that way about this as well. And Claudia says, hi. Hello, Claudia. One of my valued, really cherish Claudia's counsel when it comes to my music career. One of my close advisors. She knows what's good, and your jams are good jams. Thank you, Ben, and thank you, Claudia. Is the gun on the Elon's table a replica from a video game? We asked this earlier. We started off the show doing some Elon table analysis. We didn't know if it was I think there was some confusion about whether it qualified as a blunderbuss, whether it's real or a toy. I was talking about how I probably would have found it cool if it was coming from someone else besides Elon Musk. I like that kind of science fiction prop, Blade Runner assassin type aesthetic. Oh, it's a blunder, all right. Oh my goodness. When he made a pun, he said, I'm Musket, Elon Musket. God damn. This man is just not funny. He is just not funny whatsoever. As much as he wishes that he was. Folks, so as we wind down here, I got another 15 minutes before I got to get going. It would be a great start to the week. It's been tricky for me to fill up the old sub goal over the last couple of weeks, and people in this community are very supportive. I always feel weird about pushing that. But I would appreciate.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old.
I would
Rob
very much
to,
appreciate
talk you through all this.
If we could start this week off by filling up that sub goal. As you know, I do need to purchase products, including food and housing, for not only me but for my child. So if you appreciate, and thank you, John, so much for the gifted sub. Thank you, John.
You can count on me
and Sean as well.
Rob to talk you through
Sean
all this.
and John. Thank you to you both for the gifted subs. That's very kind of both of you. That you purchase food from a large grocery chain. Disgusting. They're very true. It is true. I do. So just a few generous chatters could get us to the goal. I'm not expecting to get there every day. Again, people in this community are very, very generous, and I always feel weird about, being a hard ass about this. It would be a great start to the week, especially considering I was only able to stream twice last week. It would be a great start to the week to just make that number go to the good number.
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
King Uendo. Goodness gracious. King Uendo, thank you very much for the 5 gifted subs. And for all the support over 2 entire years, 2 entire seasons of TRRS. Thank you, King Uendo. I really, really appreciate that. We're season 3. This is season 3. And King Uendo has been a big supporter of this program. Couldn't do it without King Uendo. Very much appreciated. Thank you, sir. Okay, so I didn't have to beg and plead and humiliate myself too much. King Window. Valued community member, King Window. So I didn't have to humiliate myself too much getting to that sub goal. That's always good. That always feels good. But this was a good stream, though. I guess I shouldn't have had the same song playing the last 2 hours and 48 minutes. I probably could have switched it up a little bit. It's entrancing. Okay, I'm glad you appreciate it, Lana. Lana, I'd be interested if you've checked out my music side project. And if anyone does want to check it out, I always appreciate hearing people with some feedback about this. You can listen to some of the music that I've been releasing right there on the hurstwood.bandcamp.com link there in the chat. I've been, for the first time in like 12 years, recording and releasing some new music. I feel weird about it. I feel anxious about it, but I'm trying to push past that. And people in this community have been very kind, listening to my midlife crisis return to music production and recording. It's been very nice to have people in this community give it a listen and to have positive feedback. Thank you, Iron Forward. Thank you. So you can do so there. Maybe I'll release some more soon. I don't know. We will see. I actually have I was streaming on YouTube Music. I actually have a playlist called Tech Noir already. Tech Noir. It's the bar in Terminator. Great name. Okay, well, I think that'll do it for the day, folks. Who we got here? Who's streaming? Who do we got here? What do we got? I'm going to start saying that like Al Pacino. That's going to be one of my new catchphrases on here. What do we got? If I started incorporating some of that kind of stuff, what do we think about that? What do we think about if I started to do that? You know what? Actually, we've got our friend Carter. Give me all you got. Because she's got a great ass. I could start incorporating some of those little Pacino-isms. What are you, a fucking owl? If I started doing that one as well. We're going to rate our friend Carter. Professional Twitch streamer, appeared on the Insurgents podcast a few weeks ago. Carter actually rated the channel the other day, which I appreciated. So let's return the favor to our friend Carter. Please give my regards. Maybe we can do some knife rob. Maybe we can do like a knife rob raid. Maybe we can really freak out Carter and his viewers and chatters with a bunch of pictures of me making a deranged expression and wielding a knife. But in a nice way, though. In a nice way. You know? Or a knife way. There we go. Anyway, thanks for watching, folks. I'll be back tomorrow. It was nice to check in with you all. I'll talk to you tomorrow, okay? Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.